Hello, friends. Today's journey takes us on two distinct routes across northern and central Europe, a double haul that tells two different stories about European freight logistics. We're driving a Scania R500, configured as a 6x2 tractor unit with a normal day cab, 500 horsepower at our disposal, but built for efficiency and comfort on shorter routes. Our first journey begins in Brussels, the capital of Belgium, and the de facto capital of the European Union. We're carrying 9 tons of empty barrels, oak containers that once held wine or spirits, now returning north for cleaning, refilling, or redistribution. The destination is Kiel, a port city on Germany's Baltic coast, nearly 700 kilometers to the northeast. After unloading in Kiel, we won't be heading home. Instead, we'll hook up to a tanker trailer loaded with 17 tons of olive oil. The Mediterranean liquid gold is destined for Graz, Austria's second largest city, nearly 1,000 kilometers to the south. It's a long day in the cab, but the Scania is built for exactly this kind of work. 2 loads, 2 very different cargoes, over 1,600 kilometers of European motorways. Let's begin. Scania has built trucks in Sweden since 1891, making it one of the world's oldest commercial vehicle manufacturers. The company name comes from Scania, the southernmost province of Sweden, where the company originated. For over a century, Scania has focused on heavy trucks, buses, and industrial engines, building a reputation for durability, efficiency, and driver comfort. The R series we're driving tonight represents Scania's premium forward control truck range. Forward control means the cab sits above the front axle rather than behind a long hood. This design maximizes cargo space while keeping overall vehicle length manageable for European regulations. The R series was introduced in March 2004 as a replacement for the 4 series that had served since 1995. It represented a significant evolution in Scania's truck design, with about 65% carryover from its predecessor, but featuring a completely new cab design, updated interior, and numerous technical improvements. The name R Series doesn't stand for anything specific in the way some manufacturers use letters. Rather, it's simply Scania's designation for their high forward control cab. Below it sits the P Series, with a lower cab, and above it, at least conceptually, was the G Series introduced in 2007 as a medium-height option derived from the R platform. Our truck tonight features what Scania calls a normal cab, a day cab without sleeping facilities. This might seem counterintuitive for a truck capable of long-distance work, but it reflects a particular approach to European logistics. The day cab is designed for operations where drivers complete their routes within legal driving hours and return home or to a base each night. European regulations limit daily driving to 9 hours, extendable to 10 hours, twice per week. With our 2 routes today totaling about 1,600 kilometers, we're looking at roughly 18 hours of driving time spread across what would normally be 2 separate days. The normal cab offers significant advantages for this type of operation. It's lighter than a sleeper cab, meaning more payload capacity. It's less expensive to purchase and maintain. And for drivers who do go home each night, the lack of a sleeper isn't a disadvantage. It's simply unnecessary equipment. That said, the normal cab isn't Spartan. Scania understands that drivers spend entire working days in this environment. The seats are high quality with multiple adjustments, lumbar support, and often air suspension to absorb road irregularities. The dashboard is well designed with clear instrumentation. Climate control maintains comfortable temperatures regardless of outside conditions. Storage compartments provide space for personal items, documents, and supplies for the day. The driving position is excellent. The large windscreen and door windows provide outstanding visibility. The steering wheel adjusts for height and rake. The controls fall naturally to hand. Everything is designed to reduce fatigue over long driving days. Under our cab sits Scania's 13-liter inline-6 diesel engine in its 500 horsepower configuration. This is the DC-13, a thoroughly modern power plant designed to meet Euro 5 and later Euro 6 emission standards, while delivering strong performance and excellent fuel economy. The engine displaces 12.7 liters across 6 cylinders arranged in a line. This configuration is traditional for truck engines, offering smooth power delivery and good balance. A single overhead camshaft operates 4 valves per cylinder, 2 for intake and 2 for exhaust, maximizing the engine's breathing efficiency. Turbocharging is essential for modern diesel engines. Our DC-13 uses a single variable geometry turbocharger. Unlike fixed geometry turbos, a VGT can adjust the angle of its vanes to optimize boost pressure across the engine's rev range. This provides strong low-end torque for pulling away with heavy loads, while still delivering high-end power for highway cruising. The 500 horsepower peak output arrives at 1900 RPM. But more important for everyday driving is the torque figure. 2,500 Newton meters, available from 1,000 to 1,300 RPM. This broad torque curve means the engine pulls strongly across a wide range of speeds, reducing the need for frequent gear changes and making the truck pleasant to drive in varied conditions. Fuel injection uses common rail technology. High-pressure fuel is stored in a rail, then injected into each cylinder with precise timing and pressure. Modern common rail systems can perform multiple injections per combustion cycle, optimizing both power and emissions. A pilot injection before the main injection smooths combustion and reduces noise. A post-injection can help regenerate the diesel particulate filter. Emissions control is sophisticated. Selective catalytic reduction uses AdBlue, a urea-based solution, to convert harmful nitrogen oxides into harmless nitrogen and water. A diesel particulate filter captures soot, which is periodically burned off during regeneration cycles. Exhaust gas recirculation routes some exhaust back into the intake, lowering combustion temperatures and reducing NOx formation. Power flows through Scania's OptiCruise automated manual transmission. This is essentially a manual gearbox with electronic control of the clutch and gear selection. The driver has no clutch pedal and simply selects drive or manual mode. Our transmission is likely a 12-speed unit, though 14-speed versions are available for heavier applications. The gearbox uses a splitter arrangement with a main box and a range section that effectively doubles the number of ratios available. The beauty of OptiCruise is its adaptability. The system uses sensors to monitor engine speed, vehicle speed, throttle position, and load weight. Sophisticated software algorithms determine the optimal shift points for any situation. The result is smooth, efficient gear changes that maximize fuel economy while maintaining performance. The driver can override the automatic shifting if desired, using paddles or buttons to manually select gears. This is useful in specific situations, like navigating tight spaces, dealing with slippery conditions, or climbing steep grades where the driver wants to hold a specific gear. A retarder provides auxiliary braking. This is a device that creates resistance in the driveline without using the service brakes. When activated, it significantly slows the truck, perfect for controlling speed on long descents. This saves brake wear and increases safety by keeping the primary brakes cool and ready for emergency use. The 6ETS2 designation refers to our axle configuration, 6 wheels total with 2 wheels driven. Let's break this down. At the front is a single steering axle with 2 wheels, 1 on each side. This axle carries some of the truck's weight and provides steering control. Behind the cab is a middle axle, also with 2 wheels. This is typically a tag or pusher axle, meaning it's not driven, but simply supports weight. It can usually be raised when the truck is running empty, reducing rolling resistance and tire wear. The rear axle is the drive axle, with dual wheels on each side for a total of 4 wheels on this axle. This axle is driven by the engine and transmission, providing the traction to move the truck and its load. The dual wheels spread the load and provide more traction than single wheels would. The 6ETS2 configuration is popular in Europe for trailer operations. It offers good load capacity while remaining relatively lightweight and fuel efficient. The middle axle can be raised when not needed, effectively turning the truck into a 4-air-2 for better maneuverability and lower fuel consumption. Air suspension is fitted to the drive and tag axles. This provides a smooth ride, adjusts for load weight, and allows the driver to raise or lower the 5th wheel height to match different trailers. The front axle typically uses parabolic leaf springs, simpler and more robust for the steering axle's specific requirements. One of Scania's core philosophies is modularity. The company builds trucks from a relatively small number of carefully designed components that can be combined in many different ways. This approach offers several advantages. For operators, it means they can specify exactly the truck they need without paying for unnecessary features. A day cab with moderate power for regional work. A high-roof sleeper with maximum power for international haulage. A chassis optimized for specific bodywork. All built from the same component families, just combined differently. For Scania, modularity means efficiency in manufacturing, fewer unique parts to design, test, and stock, longer production runs of each component, driving down costs. And as components improve, the upgrades can roll across the entire product line. For drivers and maintenance technicians, it means familiarity. A driver moving between different Scania models finds similar controls and layouts. A mechanic working on various Scania trucks encounters the same basic systems, even if the specific configurations differ. This modular philosophy extends through the entire truck. The cab structures are shared across the R, P, and G series, with different front panels and roof heights, creating the distinct models. Engines come in several displacement and power options, but share basic architecture. transmissions scale from lighter to heavier duty versions of the same basic design. Even as a day cab, our R500 is engineered for serious work. The cab structure is built from high-tensile steel, providing strength and crash protection while keeping weight manageable. The mounting system isolates the cab from the chassis, reducing vibration and road noise transmitted to the driver. The truck is designed for easy maintenance. Service points are accessible without excessive disassembly. Oil changes, filter replacements, and routine checks can be performed efficiently, minimizing downtime. Diagnostic systems monitor the truck's vital signs, alerting drivers and mechanics to potential issues before they become failures. Fuel economy is a critical concern for any commercial operator. Scania invests heavily in reducing fuel consumption through better aerodynamics, more efficient engines and transmissions, lower rolling resistance, and intelligent systems that optimize driving strategies. Even small improvements, say a liter or two per 100 kilometers, add up to significant savings over a truck's lifetime. Reliability is perhaps even more important than any single feature. A truck that's in the shop isn't earning money. Scania has built its reputation on trucks that simply keep working year after year, accumulating hundreds of thousands or even millions of kilometers with proper maintenance. The R500 we're driving tonight represents decades of refinement. It's not flashy or revolutionary. It's simply very, very good at the job it's designed to do, moving freight efficiently, reliably, and profitably across European roads. Behind us tonight, secured on the trailer, sit 9 tons of empty barrels. These aren't just any containers. They're oak barrels, once filled with wine, beer, or spirits, now making their way back through the supply chain for their next use. The story of these barrels begins with trees. European oak, primarily from forests in France, Germany, or Eastern Europe, is harvested and carefully dried. The wood must season for years, reducing its moisture content and allowing certain compounds to mellow. This aging process is crucial because fresh oak would impart harsh, unpleasant flavors. Coopers, the craftspeople who build barrels, shape the dried oak into staves, the individual planks that form the barrel's body. These staves are arranged in a circular pattern and held together by metal hoops. Heat and moisture are applied to make the wood pliable, allowing it to be bent into the barrel's characteristic bulging shape. The inside is often toasted or charred, which caramelizes compounds in the wood and creates flavors that will later enhance whatever the barrel contains. A typical wine or spirits barrel holds 225 to 300 liters, though sizes vary. The construction must be watertight yet breathable. The wood allows tiny amounts of air to interact with the liquid inside, a process essential for proper aging of wine and spirits. But the barrel can't leak, and the wood itself must be food safe and free of contaminants. Once filled and sealed, these barrels spend months or years in cellars. Wine barrels might hold their contents for 6 months to 2 years before the wine is bottled. Whiskey barrels can hold spirits for 5, 10, 20 years or longer. During this time, chemical reactions occur between the liquid and the wood, extracting flavors, colors, and aromas that define the final product. But barrels don't last forever in active use for aging. After several fills, they've imparted most of their oak character. A barrel used 3 or 4 times for wine has far less impact on flavor than a new barrel. Eventually, the barrel becomes neutral, meaning it no longer contributes much flavor, though it still allows the subtle oxidation that benefits some wines. At this point, the barrels enter a secondary market. Some wineries continue using neutral barrels simply as vessels for storage and slight oxidation. Others sell them to distilleries. Whiskey producers, for instance, often prefer used barrels because new oak would overpower the spirit. A bourbon barrel that previously held wine brings interesting secondary flavors. Conversely, wine barrels sometimes end up aging rum, tequila, or beer, each spirit picking up nuances from the barrel's history. Our load tonight represents barrels in transit. Perhaps they're returning from a brewery to a cooperage for inspection and refurbishment. Maybe they're moving between different producers, or they could be heading to a barrel broker who'll match them with new buyers. Empty barrels require specific handling. The wood must not be allowed to dry out completely. If it does, the staves shrink, gaps open between them, and the barrel becomes useless. Some barrels travel with a few liters of their previous contents still inside, keeping the wood moist. Others are wrapped in plastic to retain moisture. The barrels must be secured properly on the trailer to prevent shifting and damage during transport. Nine tons suggests roughly 60 to 90 barrels, depending on their exact size and type. They're likely arranged in tiers, secured with straps or nets. Standard cargo securement practices apply, but with extra attention to the barrel's fragility. A damaged barrel might be repairable, but it's expensive and time-consuming work. The economics of barrel logistics are interesting. A new French oak wine barrel can cost several €100. Barrels represent a significant investment for wineries and distilleries. Being able to reuse, refurbish, and resell them makes economic sense. There's an entire industry around barrel management: brokers who buy and sell, coopers who repair and refurbish, logistics companies that handle transport. This circular economy extends the useful life of each barrel. A barrel might age wine for a winery in Bordeaux, then be sold to a bourbon distillery in Kentucky, later end up with a craft brewery in Brussels, and finally retire as furniture or garden planters. Our journey tonight is just one step in that long life cycle. The environmental dimension matters too. Oak barrels are a renewable resource if forests are managed sustainably. Reusing and refurbishing barrels reduces the demand for new oak, easing pressure on forests. It's a small part of making the beverage industry more sustainable, but every bit helps. For our purposes tonight, the barrels are simply cargo. 9 tons that need to move from Brussels to Kiel safely and efficiently. But behind that simple statement lies a fascinating world of craftsmanship, chemistry, and commerce. We roll out of Brussels as evening settles over the city. Brussels is a unique place, simultaneously the capital of Belgium, the seat of Flemish Brabant province, and the de facto capital of the European Union. The city hosts the main institutions of the EU, including the European Commission, the Council of the European Union, and part of the European Parliament. The Brussels metropolitan area is home to about 2 million people, making it Belgium's largest urban area. The city has a complicated linguistic situation. Belgium is divided between Dutch-speaking Flanders in the north and French-speaking Wallonia in the south, with a small German-speaking community in the east. Brussels officially is bilingual, though French is somewhat more common than Dutch in daily use. Our route out of Brussels takes us northeast on the E40 motorway. This European road designation indicates a major east-west corridor. The E40 actually runs all the way from Calais on the French Atlantic coast to Ritter on the border between Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, a distance of over 8,000 kilometers. We're using just a tiny fraction of this vast route. The Belgian section of the E40 is also designated A10, following Belgian national road numbering. Belgian motorways are generally excellent, well maintained with clear signage. They're also famously well lit. Belgium's motorway lighting is so extensive that the road network is visible from space at night as bright lines across the landscape. Traffic around Brussels can be heavy, even in the evening. The city is a major economic hub with significant commuter traffic. The orbital motorways, particularly the ring around Brussels, experience frequent congestion. We're fortunate to be heading out rather than around, though the E40 still sees considerable freight traffic. Belgium's landscape in this region is relatively flat, part of the Great North European Plain. In daylight, you'd see fields, small woodlands, and the typical Belgian mix of agricultural and industrial land use. Towns and cities appear frequently, testament to Belgium's dense population. This is one of Europe's most densely populated countries, with over 11 million people in an area slightly smaller than Maryland. The Belgian economy is diverse and highly developed. Services dominate, including financial services, telecommunications, and government administration. Brussels' role as the EU capital brings thousands of international organizations, lobbyists, and associated businesses. Manufacturing remains important, particularly chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and food processing. The Port of Antwerp, which we'll pass near, is one of Europe's largest, handling vast quantities of goods. Belgian culture reflects its linguistic divisions, but also its location at the crossroads of European culture. French influence from the south, Dutch from the north, and German from the east all blend here. The result is a unique mix, sometimes tense, but also creative and cosmopolitan. Belgian contributions to art, from Flemish masters like Rubens and Van Eyck to modern surrealists like Magritte, reflected this cultural richness. We pass through Leuven, home to one of Europe's oldest and most prestigious universities. The city has been an intellectual center since the 15th century. Today, it's known for beer. the Stella Artois brewery is based here, and as a technology and research hub. Continuing northeast, we cross into Germany near Aachen. The border is unmarked thanks to the Schengen Agreement, which eliminated internal border controls within most of Europe. We simply drive through, the only indication being signs changing from Dutch and French to German. Germany's Autobahn system is legendary, famous worldwide for sections without speed limits. However, as a truck, we don't benefit from this. German law restricts vehicles over 3.5 tons to 80 kilometers per hour on Autobahns, the same limit that applies in most European countries. We're not here for speed, we're here for efficiency and smooth progress. The Autobahn system dates back to the 1930s, though its origins lie in earlier plans from the Weimar Republic. The first Autobahn opened in 1932 between Cologne and Bonn. During the Nazi era, the network expanded significantly as part of national economic and military planning. After World War II, both East and West Germany continued developing their Autobahn networks, and after reunification, the systems were integrated and expanded further. Today, Germany has over 13,000 kilometers of Autobahn, making it one of the world's most extensive highway systems. The lack of universal speed limits on some sections makes it unique among major industrialized nations. However, this is somewhat overstated in popular imagination. About 30% of the Autobahn network has permanent speed limits. Another 10% has temporary limits depending on traffic or weather, and only about 60% truly has no limit. Even on unrestricted sections, a recommended speed of 130 km/h is posted. The Autobahn we're joining is the A4, which runs east-west across Germany. From our entry point near Aachen, it heads east through North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany's most populous state. This region was historically the heart of German heavy industry, with coal mining, steel production, and manufacturing concentrated in the Ruhr Valley. We pass near Cologne, Germany's fourth largest city, famous for its cathedral, one of Europe's most impressive Gothic structures. The twin spires dominate the city's skyline and have become a symbol of Cologne. The city sits on the Rhine River, a major waterway that's been vital for European commerce for 2,000 years. The Autobahn continues through Dortmund and past the eastern edge of the Ruhr metropolitan area. This conurbation is one of Europe's largest urban zones, with over 5 million people living in dozens of interconnected cities and towns. The area has been transforming since the decline of heavy industry, developing services, technology, and logistics sectors. The Ruhr Valley's industrial history shaped modern Germany. Coal was discovered here in the 18th century, and mining began in earnest in the 19th century. The combination of abundant coal and access to iron ore made the Ruhr ideal for steel production. By the late 1800s, the area was Germany's industrial powerhouse, with companies like Krupp, Thyssen, and Horsch building massive steelworks. Coal mines proliferated, eventually numbering in the hundreds. The region produced steel for Germany's railways, ships, buildings, and weapons. Industrial growth attracted workers from across Germany and beyond, with Polish, Italian, and Turkish immigrants joining the workforce over different periods. The Ruhr's industrial might made it strategically crucial during both world wars. After World War II, the Ruhr faced rebuilding challenges. Coal and steel industries recovered, but international competition and changing energy markets gradually undermined traditional industries. The decline could have devastated the region, but instead, the Ruhr transformed itself. Universities expanded, service industries grew, and old industrial sites converted to cultural venues and museums. Today, the Ruhr has one of Europe's highest densities of universities and research institutions. Traffic is moderate tonight. German autobahns are heavily used, particularly by freight. Trucks from across Europe pass through Germany on their way to destinations throughout the continent. Germany sits at the heart of Europe, geographically and economically, making it a natural crossroads. The Autobahn infrastructure is generally excellent, though construction work is frequent as the system undergoes constant maintenance and upgrading. Electronic signs provide traffic information, warning of congestion, accidents, or weather conditions ahead. We transition to the A1 Autobahn near the Kamener Kreuz interchange. The A1 runs north-south through western Germany, one of the country's most important freight corridors. We'll follow it north, passing through Münster and continuing toward Bremen. The landscape gradually changes as we head north. The industrial character of the Ruhr gives way to more agricultural land. North Rhine-Westphalia transitions into Lower Saxony, Germany's second-largest state by area. The terrain remains relatively flat, though gentle hills appear in some sections. Osnabrück passes to our left, a city with a history stretching back to Roman times. It was one of the two cities where the Peace of Westphalia was negotiated in 1648, ending the 30 Years' War and establishing principles of sovereignty that shaped European politics for centuries. Further north, we pass Bremen, one of Germany's city-states. Bremen is actually two cities, Bremen and Bremerhaven, separated by territory belonging to Lower Saxony. The arrangement is a historical quirk resulting from Bremen's need for seaport access. The city has been a major trading center since medieval times, part of the Hanseatic League that dominated Baltic and North Sea commerce. The A1 continues north past Bremen, heading toward Hamburg. But before we reach Germany's second-largest city, we transition onto the A7, the longest Autobahn in Germany, running over 960 kilometers from the Danish border in the north to the Austrian border in the south. We're joining the A7 at a point where it runs north toward Schleswig-Holstein, Germany's northernmost state. This region has a distinct character, influenced by its position between the North Sea and the Baltic Sea. The landscape is low-lying, with marshes, heath, and agricultural land. Hamburg appears to our right as we continue north on the A7. This is Germany's second largest city and Europe's third largest port. The city sits astride the Elbe River, about 100 kilometers from where it flows into the North Sea. Hamburg has been a major trading city for over 1,000 years, and its port remains one of Europe's busiest, handling millions of containers annually. The port of Hamburg, often called Germany's gateway to the world, handles over 130 million tons of cargo each year. Container shipping dominates, but the port also handles bulk goods, cars, and various other cargoes. The Elbe River is deep enough for large ocean-going vessels to reach the port's facilities, though some of the newest mega-container ships require careful tide management to navigate the channel. Hamburg's prosperity has always been tied to trade. As a leading member of the medieval Hanseatic League, Hamburg dominated Baltic and North Sea commerce for centuries. The city maintained a degree of independence even within the German Empire, becoming one of Germany's 3 city-states, along with Bremen and Berlin. Today, it retains that status within the Federal Republic. The city is known for more than just its port. Hamburg has a vibrant cultural scene, with more theaters than any other German city, numerous museums, and a rich musical heritage. The Elbphilharmonie, a striking concert hall opened in 2017, has become a new symbol of the city. Hamburg also has a somewhat risque reputation, home to the Reeperbahn Entertainment District, famous for nightlife and as the place where the Beatles honed their skills in the early 1960s. We're bypassing Hamburg rather than going through it. The city's transport infrastructure is complex, with tunnels under the Elbe and numerous bridges. For through traffic like ours, the bypass routes are more efficient. North of Hamburg, we're truly in Schleswig-Holstein. This state is relatively small and sparsely populated by German standards. It's sandwiched between the North Sea to the west and the Baltic Sea to the east, never more than about 100 kilometers wide. The region has changed hands repeatedly throughout history, contested between Denmark and various German states. The A7 continues north, passing through flat agricultural land. In the distance to the east, the Baltic coast isn't far away. Schleswig-Holstein's economy is based on agriculture, maritime industries, and increasingly tourism. The Baltic coast attracts visitors for its beaches, while the inland areas have dairy farms and crop production. We're approaching Rendsburg, a town notable for its high bridge carrying the A7 over the Kiel Canal. This canal, opened in 1895, connects the North Sea with the Baltic Sea, allowing ships to bypass the long journey around the northern tip of Denmark. It's one of the world's busiest artificial waterways, with over 30,000 ships passing through each year. The A7 crosses the canal on a spectacular high bridge, giving us a brief view of the waterway below. ships appear small from this height, though some are massive cargo vessels moving between the two seas. Beyond the canal, we continue the final stretch toward Kiel. The A215 branches off from the A7, providing direct access to the city. Kiel has been an important Baltic port for centuries, though it's perhaps best known for its naval history. During the German Empire, Kiel was a major naval base. The German Navy's High Seas Fleet was based here. In 1918, sailors' mutiny in Kiel helped spark the revolution that ended the German monarchy and brought the Weimar Republic. During World War II, Kiel's naval facilities and shipyards made it a target for Allied bombing, and the city was heavily damaged. Today, Kiel is known for more peaceful pursuits. It's the sailing capital of Germany, hosting Kiel Week, one of the world's largest sailing events, every June. The city is also a major ferry port with connections to Scandinavia. Its location at the end of the Kiel Fjord makes it a natural harbor. Kiel Week, or Kieler Woche in German, is more than just a sailing regatta. It's a massive summer festival that attracts over 3 million visitors annually. The event features sailing races across multiple classes, from Olympic standard competitions to traditional vessels. But it's also a cultural festival with concerts, markets, and celebrations throughout the city. The culmination is a spectacular fireworks display over the harbor. The ferry connections to Scandinavia make Kiel an important link in Northern European transport networks. Regular routes operate to Sweden, Norway, and Lithuania. These ferries carry both passengers and freight, providing alternatives to the long road journey around the Baltic or through Denmark. The shipbuilding industry continues, though on a smaller scale than its military peak. ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems build submarines here. The port handles both ferries and commercial cargo. The university brings students and research activity to the city. As we enter Kiel, the journey from Brussels is complete. Nearly 680 kilometers covered, passing through 3 countries, across some of Europe's most important transport corridors. Our empty barrels will be unloaded, inspected, and prepared for their next use. But our work isn't finished. After a brief rest, we'll hook up to a new trailer and begin the second leg of tonight's double haul. Our second load couldn't be more different from the first. Where the barrels were empty containers, now we're carrying 17 tons of olive oil, Mediterranean liquid gold making its way to Austria. Olive oil is one of humanity's oldest foods. Evidence of olive cultivation dates back over 6,000 years to the ancient Mediterranean. The olive tree itself can live for centuries, even millennia, with some trees in the Holy Land claimed to date from Roman times. The oil comes from pressing the fruit of the olive tree. Contrary to what many people think, olives are not vegetables but fruits, botanically classified as drupes, like cherries or plums. Each olive contains a pit and flesh, and it's from the flesh that oil is extracted. Modern olive oil production is sophisticated but builds on ancient principles. Harvesting typically occurs in autumn and early winter. The olives are picked either by hand or using mechanical shakers at the point when they contain maximum oil content. Timing is crucial. Too early, and the oil lacks flavor. Too late, and the oil quality declines. At the mill, the olives are washed and then ground into a paste. Traditionally, this was done using massive stone wheels. Today, most facilities use stainless steel machines. The paste is then slowly mixed, a process called relaxation, which allows the microscopic oil droplets to coalesce into larger droplets that can be more easily separated. Extraction is accomplished through mechanical pressure, or, more commonly now, centrifugation. The paste is spun at high speed, separating the oil from the water and solid matter. No heat is applied in quality olive oil production, hence the term cold pressed that appears on bottles. Heat can increase yield but damages the delicate flavor compounds. What comes out of this process is extra virgin olive oil, the highest grade. This oil has acidity below 0.8%, measured as free oleic acid, and no flavor defects. It must be produced purely by mechanical means, with no chemical treatment. Extra virgin olive oil represents less than 10% of production in some countries, though Mediterranean countries achieve much higher percentages. Lower grades exist. Virgin olive oil has slightly higher acidity and may have minor flavor defects. Refined olive oil has been chemically processed to neutralize flavors and reduce acidity. Pure olive oil, or simply olive oil, is typically a blend of refined and virgin oils. The grading system protects consumers and maintains quality standards. In the European Union, regulations strictly define each grade and set limits on chemical characteristics. Acidity must be below certain thresholds. Peroxide levels, which indicate oxidation, must be within specified ranges. Sensory analysis by trained tasters confirms the absence of flavor defects. Fraud has been a problem in the olive oil industry. Cheaper oils like sunflower or hazelnut oil are sometimes blended into products labeled as pure olive oil. Lower grade oil is sometimes falsely marketed as extra virgin. Geographic origins may be mislabeled, with oil from one country sold as a product of another more prestigious region. The EU and national authorities conduct testing and inspections to combat such fraud. The Mediterranean climate is essential for olive cultivation. Olives need hot, dry summers and mild, wet winters. They're remarkably drought tolerant once established, but produce better yields with some irrigation. The trees won't survive prolonged hard freezes, but can tolerate brief cold snaps. This climatic requirement confines commercial production mostly to Mediterranean regions and similar climates elsewhere, like California, Chile, South Africa, and Australia. Traditional olive groves feature ancient trees, some centuries old, planted with wide spacing. Modern intensive cultivation uses younger trees planted more densely, often with irrigation systems and mechanical harvesting equipment. Super-intensive groves plant trees in hedgerows and use specially designed harvesting machines that straddle the rows. The shift to intensive cultivation has increased yields and reduced labor costs, but raised concerns about traditional landscapes and biodiversity. Ancient olive groves support diverse ecosystems and hold cultural significance in Mediterranean communities. The tension between economic efficiency and cultural heritage creates ongoing debates about agricultural policy. Our 17-ton load tonight is likely not extra virgin, given the bulk transport method. Extra virgin is usually bottled at or near the source to preserve quality. This is probably refined or blended oil destined for food processing facilities in Austria. It might be used in commercial kitchens, packaged foods, or further processing into products like mayonnaise or salad dressings. The oil is being transported in a food-grade tanker trailer. This is a stainless steel tank specifically constructed for edible liquids. Stainless steel doesn't react with the oil, preserving its quality. The tank must be meticulously clean, free of any residue from previous cargoes that could contaminate the oil. Temperature control is critical for olive oil transport. The oil begins to solidify around 5 degrees Celsius, becoming cloudy and viscous. Full solidification occurs around 0 degrees Celsius, at which point pumping becomes impossible. The ideal transport temperature is 15 to 20 degrees C, warm enough to keep the oil fluid but cool enough to minimize deterioration. Heating coils in the tank can maintain temperature during transport, though on a journey like ours through Germany and Austria in reasonable weather, heating may not be necessary. The insulation of the tank helps maintain stable temperature. Oxygen exposure is another concern. Olive oil undergoes oxidation when exposed to air, leading to rancidity. The oil develops off flavors and loses its beneficial properties. The tank must be sealed to minimize air contact. Some systems use inert gas, like nitrogen, to fill the space above the oil, preventing oxidation. Light exposure also degrades olive oil, which is why it's traditionally stored in dark bottles or stainless steel containers. The opaque tanker protects the oil from light throughout the journey. Upon arrival in Graz, the oil will be pumped out of our tanker into storage tanks at the receiving facility. These tanks will also be stainless steel, maintained at appropriate temperatures and protected from light and excessive air exposure. From there, the oil will be bottled, used in production processes, or transferred to smaller containers for distribution to food service operators. The economics of olive oil transport are significant. Global trade in olive oil exceeds 3 million metric tons annually, valued at billions of dollars. Spain is the world's largest producer, accounting for about 40% of global output. Italy, Greece, Turkey, and Tunisia are other major producers. Most production remains in the Mediterranean region, but demand is worldwide. Spain's dominance in production is relatively recent in historical terms. While Spain has grown olives for millennia, Italian olive oil was long considered superior and commanded higher prices. Spanish producers invested heavily in modernization, quality improvement, and marketing. Today, Spanish olive oil ranges from bulk commodity oil to premium estate bottled products that rival any in the world. Italy remains culturally associated with olive oil, despite producing less than Spain. Italian cuisine's global popularity drives demand for Italian olive oil. However, Italy also imports significant quantities of oil from Spain, Greece, and Tunisia, which is then blended, bottled, and sold as Italian olive oil. This practice is legal when properly labeled, but sometimes misleads consumers. Greece produces high-quality oil, much of it extra virgin, but has historically struggled with marketing. Greek oil is often sold in bulk to Italian bottlers rather than marketed under Greek brands. Recent years have seen efforts to change this, promoting Greek olive oil as a distinct, quality product. The health benefits associated with olive oil have driven increased consumption outside traditional markets. The Mediterranean diet, emphasizing olive oil, vegetables, fish, and whole grains, has been studied extensively. Research suggests it reduces cardiovascular disease risk, inflammation, and may provide other health benefits. This scientific backing has made olive oil popular in health-conscious markets worldwide. Olive oil's culinary versatility contributes to its appeal. Extra virgin olive oil provides distinctive flavor when drizzled on salads or bread. Refined olive oil works well for cooking at moderate temperatures. Unlike butter or other fats, olive oil is plant-based and fits vegetarian and vegan diets. Its monounsaturated fat profile is considered healthier than saturated fats in butter or lard. Austria, our destination, is not a major olive oil producer. The climate is too cold for olives in most of the country, but Austrians consume olive oil, increasingly so as Mediterranean diets have become popular for their health benefits. This creates demand for imports. Our load might originate from Spain or Italy, shipped to a port on the North Sea or Baltic, then distributed through Northern Europe. Or it could be from North Africa, via Mediterranean ports. The logistics of olive oil distribution are complex, with multiple transportation modes and storage points between grove and consumer. Quality standards are strict for olive oil in the EU. Regulations govern labeling, define quality grades, and set limits on adulterants. Importers must document the oil's origin and quality. Testing laboratories can analyze the oil's chemical composition, detecting fraud or substandard product. For us tonight, the olive oil is cargo that must be transported safely and efficiently. 17 tons of liquid requiring specific handling, but ultimately just freight moving from point A to point B. Yet behind this mundane description lies thousands of years of agricultural history and a global industry supporting millions of livelihoods. From Kiel, our route heads south, retracing some of the ground we covered coming north. We're back on the A215 and then the A7, but now heading in the opposite direction. The Baltic port fades behind us as we aim for Central Europe and eventually the Alps. The A7 is our main artery for the German portion of this journey. As mentioned earlier, it's Germany's longest autobahn, running the entire length of the country from the Danish border to Austria. We'll follow it for several hundred kilometers, making this a straightforward, if lengthy, drive. Passing Rendsburg again, crossing back over the Kiel Canal, we're retracing our route through Schleswig-Holstein. Hamburg appears ahead, but this time we'll pass on the western side of the city rather than the eastern approach we took coming north. The A7 threads through Hamburg's western suburbs, providing access to various parts of the metropolitan area without entering the congested city center. Hamburg is impossible to ignore, even from the Autobahn. The city's size and vitality are apparent in the density of development, the proliferation of industrial and commercial facilities, and the constant traffic. South of Hamburg, we're entering Lower Saxony once more, but now on a different trajectory. The A7 continues south through the middle of Lower Saxony, a route that will take us through the state's midsection. We pass Soltau, a small town known for its heathland, part of the Lüneburg Heath Nature Reserve. This area is one of the few remaining extensive heathlands in Central Europe, protected and managed to preserve its distinctive ecosystem and landscapes. Continuing south, the A7 passes through increasingly hilly terrain as we approach the Harz Mountains. These are Germany's northernmost mountains, a small but distinct range that rises abruptly from the surrounding plains. The highest peak, the Brocken, reaches just over 1,100 meters. The mountains have a somewhat mystical reputation in German culture, associated with witches and folklore. We pass Göttingen, a university city famous for its academic tradition. The Georg August University, founded in 1737, has been home to numerous Nobel Prize winners, particularly in physics and chemistry. The city represents the best of German intellectual culture. The A7 continues south, and now we're transitioning from Lower Saxony into Hesse, another of Germany's states. Hesse contains Frankfurt, Germany's financial capital, though we won't pass through that city. Our route keeps us further east, away from the Rhine Valley where Frankfurt sits. Near Kassel, we're passing through the geographic center of Germany. Kassel itself is known for its art exhibitions and its Brothers Grimm connection. The famous collectors of fairy tales lived and worked here. The region around Kassel is characterized by rolling hills, forests, and agricultural land. The A7 continues relentlessly southward. This is one of the characteristics of German autobahns. They tend to run long distances in relatively straight lines, built for efficiency rather than scenery. The engineering is impressive, cutting through hills, spanning valleys, and maintaining grade even in challenging terrain. We're now in northern Bavaria, though this region doesn't look like the Bavaria of popular imagination with alpine meadows and villages. This is Franconia, historically distinct from Bavaria proper, with its own dialect and culture. The region was incorporated into Bavaria in the early 19th century, but retains a separate identity. Würzburg appears to our right, a beautiful city on the Main River, famous for its Baroque architecture and surrounding vineyards. The region produces some of Germany's finest white wines, particularly Sylvaner. The combination of the river valley's climate and the soil composition creates ideal conditions for viticulture. The A7 meets the A3 near Würzburg, two of Germany's main north-south routes intersecting. Traffic here can be intense as vehicles sort themselves onto different routes. We continue on the A7, maintaining our southward trajectory. Now we're entering what most people think of as Bavaria, moving from Franconia into the region around Munich. The landscape becomes more alpine in character. Hills give way to mountains visible in the distance. Traditional Bavarian architecture begins to appear in the villages we pass. Bavaria is Germany's largest state by area and one of its most economically powerful regions. While outsiders often think of Bavaria in terms of stereotypes, Lederhosen, beer halls, alpine villages, the reality is far more complex. Bavaria contains major cities like Munich and Nuremberg, high-tech industries, world-class universities, and a diverse economy that ranges from automotive manufacturing to biotechnology. The Bavarian identity is strong. The Free State of Bavaria, as it's officially known, has its own distinct culture, traditions, and even political dynamics that sometimes differ from the rest of Germany. Bavarians take pride in their heritage, from the elaborate traditional costumes still worn at festivals to the distinctive white and blue flag that flies everywhere. Beer culture is genuinely central to Bavarian life, not just a tourist attraction. The Bavarian Purity Law, or Reinheitsgebot, dating from 1516, established strict standards for beer production that influenced brewing worldwide. Bavaria has more breweries than any other German state, many of them small, family-owned operations producing distinctive local beers. The landscape we're passing through reflects Bavaria's agricultural heritage. This region is more alpine than the flatter areas further north, but it's not yet the dramatic high mountains of the border regions. Instead, it's rolling hills, green meadows where cattle graze, and neat farms that often look like they could be postcards. Agriculture remains important in Bavaria, despite the state's industrial strength. Dairy farming is particularly significant in the southern regions. The milk produces cheese, butter, and other dairy products sold throughout Germany and beyond. The farms tend to be relatively small by American standards, but highly productive, often family operations passed down through generations. Near Ulm, we're approaching the southern edge of Germany. Ulm sits on the Danube River and is famous for having the world's tallest church spire, the Ulm Minster, at 161.5 meters. The city is also where Albert Einstein was born, though he moved away as an infant. The A7 continues south, climbing gradually into the foothills of the Alps. We're now in the Allgäu region, Bavaria's southwestern corner, bordering Austria. This is dairy farming country, with green meadows, traditional farms, and cheese production. The Allgäu is famous for its dairy products throughout Germany. The Austrian border approaches near Füssen, famous for Neuschwanstein Castle, the fairy tale palace built by King Ludwig II that inspired Disney's castle design. We won't see the castle from the Autobahn, but its proximity reflects the dramatic landscapes we're entering. Crossing into Austria, the A7 becomes the A12, following Austrian numbering. We're in Tyrol, Austria's mountainous western state. But our route won't take us deep into Tyrol. Instead, we'll transition onto the A8, the Innkreis Autobahn, heading east. Austrian Autobahns operate under a different system than German ones. All vehicles must display either a vignette or, for trucks, use the Geobox electronic tolling system. The vignette is a sticker affixed to the windscreen, available for periods of 10 days, 2 months, or 1 year. For passenger cars, it costs around 90 euros annually. For trucks over 3.5 tons like ours, the Go Box system charges based on distance traveled and number of axles. The Geobox is a small white device mounted inside the windscreen. Overhead, gantries equipped with microwave transceivers read the box as trucks pass beneath, automatically calculating and charging tolls. The system uses DSRC, dedicated short-range communication, technology. It's efficient and mostly invisible to drivers. We just drive, and the tolls accumulate. Some sections of Austrian Autobahn carry additional tolls beyond the standard system. The Brenner Autobahn, certain tunnels, and a few other expensive to maintain routes charge extra. This dual toll system can make Austrian highway use expensive for freight operators, but it funds the maintenance and expansion of the network. Austrian speed limits are strictly enforced. The general limit is 130 km/h for cars, though trucks are restricted to 80 km/h as in most of Europe. Variable speed limits adjust based on weather and traffic conditions. Fixed and mobile speed cameras are common. The fines for violations are substantial, and Austrian authorities don't hesitate to pursue foreign drivers. The engineering of Austrian autobahns through mountainous terrain is impressive. Long tunnels bypass difficult mountain passes. Bridges span deep valleys. The gradients are carefully controlled to allow trucks to maintain reasonable speeds. Winter maintenance is excellent, with snowplows and salt trucks keeping routes open even in heavy snowfall. Environmental protection is taken seriously. Noise barriers shield communities from highway noise. Wildlife crossings allow animals to safely cross major routes. Air quality is monitored, and restrictions can be imposed during high pollution periods. The balance between maintaining efficient transport and protecting the alpine environment is an ongoing challenge. The A8 runs through Upper Austria, the state bordering Bavaria. The landscape remains alpine in character, but becomes less dramatically mountainous as we move east. We're passing through a region of lakes, forests, and rolling terrain that's beautiful, if not as spectacular as the high Alps. Upper Austria is one of Austria's most economically dynamic regions. The capital, Linz, is a major industrial center known for steel production, chemicals, and increasingly technology and services. The region has successfully balanced traditional industries with modern sectors, creating a diversified economy that has weathered economic changes better than some regions overly dependent on single industries. The Danube River flows through Upper Austria, and while we don't follow it closely on our route, its influence on the region is profound. The Danube is Europe's second longest river, flowing nearly 2,900 kilometers from Germany's Black Forest to the Black Sea. It passes through or borders 10 countries, more than any other river in the world. In Upper Austria, the Danube has shaped settlement patterns, trade routes, and cultural development for thousands of years. The Romans established camps and settlements along the river, using it as a natural border for their empire. Medieval traders moved goods along the river, connecting Central Europe with the Black Sea and beyond. Today, the Danube remains an important waterway for commercial shipping, with barges carrying grain, steel, and containers between cities. The Danube Valley in Upper Austria contains some of the region's most scenic landscapes. The Wachau Valley, further east in Lower Austria, is famous for vineyards and historic towns. But Upper Austria has its own beautiful river landscapes. Small towns with Baroque churches perch on hillsides. Castles, some ruined and some still inhabited, overlook the water. In autumn, the forests blaze with color. Cultural traditions in Upper Austria blend influences from Bavaria to the west, Bohemia to the north, and the distinctly Austrian character of the Alpine regions to the south. The region has its own dialect, traditions, and cuisine. Linzer Tort, a jam-filled pastry from Linz, is one of the oldest known cake recipes, dating to the 17th century. Regional dishes feature dumplings, pork, and local river fish. Folk music remains alive in Upper Austria, with traditional ensembles performing at festivals and celebrations. The music features accordions, violins, and distinctive yodeling. While some might consider such traditions quaint or outdated, they remain genuinely popular in rural areas and small towns, connecting people to their heritage and community. Near Wels, the A8 meets the A1, Austria's West Autobahn, the main east-west corridor connecting Vienna with Salzburg and the German border. We'll follow the A1 briefly before transitioning onto the A9, the Puren Autobahn, which heads south toward our destination. The A9 is one of Austria's most important north-south routes, connecting the industrial regions of Upper Austria with Styria and eventually Slovenia. The route traverses some challenging terrain, requiring tunnels and impressive engineering to maintain efficient gradients. We're climbing now, gaining elevation as the A9 heads into the mountains. The Pyern Pass, from which the Autobahn takes its name, sits at nearly 950 meters elevation. The modern Autobahn uses tunnels to bypass the old pass road, maintaining highway speeds through terrain that once took hours to cross. The Pyren region marks the transition between the northern limestone Alps and the central Austrian Alps. The rock formations here are ancient, uplifted, and folded over millions of years as the African and European tectonic plates collided. The limestone weathers into distinctive karst landscapes with sinkholes, caves, and underground streams. The old Pyren Pass Road, still visible from parts of the Autobahn, winds up the mountainside in tight switchbacks. Before modern roads, the pass was a mule trail, one of several routes crossing the Alps. Merchants, soldiers, and travelers used these passes for centuries, moving goods and armies between the northern and southern sides of the mountain range. The construction of the Bosruck and Glein Alm tunnels transformed this route. These tunnels, each several kilometers long, allow vehicles to pass through the mountains rather than laboring over them. The engineering is impressive, drilling through solid rock, managing water infiltration, providing ventilation and lighting, creating emergency exits and safety systems. Austrian tunnel safety is taken very seriously. The Mont Blanc tunnel fire in 1999, which killed 39 people, and the Tauern tunnel fire in Austria in 1999, which killed 12, led to major improvements in tunnel safety throughout Europe. Modern tunnels have escape routes every few hundred meters, fire-resistant materials, sophisticated ventilation to remove smoke, emergency telephones and fire extinguishers at regular intervals, and video monitoring of the entire length. The Bosruck Tunnel, opened in 1983, stretches 5.5 kilometers through the mountain. Inside, The tunnel is well lit with yellow sodium lights that provide good visibility while reducing energy consumption. The roadway is smooth, designed to handle high traffic volumes. Signs indicate distances to emergency exits. Cameras monitor traffic flow and can detect stopped vehicles or accidents. Driving through these long tunnels creates a particular sensation. The engine note changes, bouncing off the walls. The temperature remains constant regardless of outside weather. There's a sense of being insulated from the world, traveling through the mountain's core rather than over its surface. Then, the tunnel mouth appears ahead, and we emerge back into open air and daylight or night. The tunnels represent significant infrastructure investments. Each costs hundreds of millions of euros to construct. Maintenance is ongoing. Cleaning, lighting replacement, structural inspections, safety system testing. Tolls on Austrian autobahns help fund this infrastructure, though taxpayers also contribute through general revenues. South of the pass, we're descending into Styria, Austria's second largest state. Styria is known for its steel industry, particularly around the town of Leoben, and more recently, for its automotive sector. Several major automotive suppliers have facilities here. Styria's industrial heritage runs deep. The region has produced iron and steel since Roman times, with high-quality ore deposits in the Erzberg, or Ore Mountain. For centuries, this mountain supplied raw material for weapons, tools, and later industrial products. Mining continues today, though on a smaller scale, with the mountain's distinctive terraced appearance visible for miles. The steel industry in Leoben and other Styrian towns modernized significantly in the 20th century. Voestalpine, one of Europe's leading steel producers, has major facilities in the region. The company produces high-quality steel for automotive, railway, and construction applications. The transition from heavy industry to more specialized, high-value production has been crucial for the region's continued economic success. The automotive sector has become increasingly important to Styria. Magna Steyr, based in Graz, assembles vehicles for various manufacturers. BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and others have contracted Magna to build specific models. This flexible manufacturing approach allows car companies to produce vehicles without investing in their own factories. Magna also produces components and systems for the global automotive industry. Around Graz, numerous automotive suppliers have established operations. These companies produce everything from electronics to drivetrains to interior components. The cluster effect means skilled workers, specialized knowledge, and efficient supply chains all concentrate in the region. Universities and technical schools train engineers and technicians specifically for the automotive sector. But Styria isn't only about heavy industry and automotive. The region's agriculture produces distinctive products. Styrian pumpkin seed oil, dark green and intensely flavored, is a protected regional specialty. The pumpkins are grown specifically for their seeds, which are pressed to produce oil used in salads and cooking. The oil has become a symbol of Styrian identity. Wine production in southern Styria has gained international recognition. The region's cool climate and volcanic soils produce crisp white wines, particularly Sauvignon Blanc and Welsh Riesling. The Styrian wine roads attract tourists who visit wineries, taste wines, and enjoy the rolling vineyard landscapes. This agritourism provides economic benefits beyond just wine sales. Forests cover much of Styria, earning it the nickname of Austria's Green Heart. Sustainable forestry manages these forests for timber production while maintaining biodiversity and recreational access. The wood supports sawmills and other timber industries. The forests also play a crucial role in regulating water flow, preventing erosion, and storing carbon. Tourism brings visitors to Styria year-round. Winter sports in the mountains, hiking and cycling in summer, thermal spas and wellness centers, cultural events in Graz. The region offers diverse attractions. Tourism provides employment and supports many small businesses, from hotels to restaurants to activity providers. The A9 continues south, following valleys between mountain ranges. The scenery is spectacular: forested slopes, mountain peaks, and occasional valleys with towns and villages. This is distinctly alpine terrain, though more gentle than the dramatic peaks of western Austria. Graz appears ahead, Styria's capital and Austria's second largest city. The city sits in a basin where the Moor River flows through, surrounded by hills. This location has made it an important crossroads for centuries. Graz has a history dating back to Roman times, though its growth came during the Middle Ages when it served as a residence for Habsburg rulers. The Old Town is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, preserved beautifully with Renaissance and Baroque architecture. The city symbol is the Schlossberg, a hill in the city center, crowned by a clock tower that's become Graz's most recognizable landmark. Today, Graz is a major industrial center, particularly for automotive manufacturing and suppliers. Magna Steyr, a subsidiary of Canadian automotive giant Magna International, assembles vehicles here. Many automotive technology companies have research and development facilities in the area. The city is also a university town, home to several institutions including Karl Franzens University, one of Austria's oldest and largest. This gives Graz a young, dynamic atmosphere, despite its historical character. Our olive oil is destined for a facility somewhere in or around Graz, likely a food processing plant or distribution center. As we navigate the final kilometers into the city, the journey from Kiel is complete. Nearly 1,000 kilometers south through Germany and into Austria, from the Baltic to the Alps, carrying Mediterranean oil to Central European markets. It's been a long day in the cab. 2 loads, 2 routes, over 1,600 kilometers total. The Scania has performed flawlessly, its 500 horsepower carrying us efficiently across autobahns and through varied terrain. This is the reality of European freight transport. Long days, varied cargo, constant movement. And tomorrow, it begins again. The Austrian landscape around Graz is distinctly different from the high Alps further west. Styria is often called the green heart of Austria for its extensive forests and agricultural land. The region produces pumpkin seed oil, a dark green delicacy unique to Styria that's protected by EU designation of origin. White wine is also produced here, particularly the crisp Sauvignon Blanc from southern Styria's wine roads. The mix of industry and agriculture creates an interesting economic balance. Heavy industry around Leoben and the automotive sector around Graz coexist with traditional farming in the valleys and slopes. Small and medium-sized enterprises, the middle stand that forms the backbone of German-speaking economies, are particularly strong in Styria. Austrian culture reflects its position at the crossroads of Central Europe. The country shares borders with 8 nations: Germany, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Slovenia, Italy, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein. This geographic position has made Austria a meeting place of cultures throughout history. Slavic influence from the east, Italian from the south, German from the north and west, all blend here. The Habsburg Empire, which ruled from Vienna for over 600 years, drew in territories and peoples from across Central and Eastern Europe. While the empire dissolved after World War I, its legacy remains in Austria's cosmopolitan character and cultural sophistication. Vienna's imperial architecture, its music tradition from Mozart to Strauss, and its café culture all reflect this heritage. Modern Austria is a wealthy, stable democracy with a high standard of living. The economy is diverse, with strengths in tourism, banking, manufacturing, and services. Austrian companies like Red Bull, OMV, Vestalpine, and Andritz are international players. The country maintains close economic ties with Germany, while also serving as a gateway between Western and Eastern Europe. The transport infrastructure we're using reflects Austria's commitment to efficient mobility. Despite challenging mountainous terrain, Austria has built an impressive network of autobahns and rail lines. The country also serves as a major transit route for freight, moving between northern and southern Europe, particularly through the Brenner Pass to Italy. Environmental concerns are significant in Austria. The Alps are recognized as a fragile ecosystem requiring protection. Truck transit through alpine valleys creates noise and air pollution that concerns local communities. Austria has implemented strict regulations on truck traffic, including nighttime bans and emissions requirements. The country also promotes rail freight as an alternative to road transport, with railroad terminals allowing efficient modal shifts. As we navigate the final approach to Graz, signs indicate various industrial zones and logistics centers. The city's economy depends on efficient freight connections. Raw materials come in, finished products go out. Our olive oil is just one small element in the vast flow of goods that keeps modern economies functioning. The delivery facility appears ahead. We'll back the tanker into position, connect the hoses, and pump out the 17 tons of oil. The entire process will take perhaps 30 minutes, assuming no complications. Then it's time to disconnect, secure the trailer, and begin the journey to our next assignment. Looking back on today's work, we've covered an impressive distance. Brussels to Kiel, then Kiel to Graz. Over 1,600 kilometers through 4 countries. We've climbed from sea level at Kiel to nearly 1,000 meters in the Austrian Alps, descending again to Graz at 350 meters elevation. We've passed through diverse landscapes: Belgian farmland, German industrial zones, Baltic coastline, North German plains, Bavarian foothills, and Austrian mountains. The Scania R500 has performed exactly as designed. 500 horsepower is not excessive for this work. It's appropriate. The engine has pulled our loaded trailer up gradients without strain. The Opticruise transmission has shifted smoothly through thousands of gear changes. The brakes and retarder have controlled our speed on descents. The cab has kept us comfortable despite hours on the road. This is the unglamorous reality of freight transport. Long hours, varied conditions, constant attention required. But it's also essential work. Every product in every store arrived by truck at some point. Every factory receives materials and ships products. Every restaurant gets supplies. The trucks keep moving, the drivers keep driving, and the economy keeps functioning. Tomorrow, there will be another load, another route, another destination. The cycle continues, day after day, across Europe's road network. This is our profession, our livelihood, our contribution to keeping society operating. And as we complete tonight's deliveries and prepare for tomorrow's work, there's satisfaction in a job well done. Thank you for staying with me till the end. I hope to see you on another journey soon.